Okay, let's start with the Aptana software, and we're going to start with, basically using the software to do the basic chapter 2. So in this case, one of the things I went to make it easier was to go back to the merch website here. And what I found was easier. I know in the first video I kind of talked about just downloading and uncompressing the files here. But by doing that, it didn't sort of give me the exact same structure that the book was going in, and I had to make a folder and put the files into a folder on the C drive, and it worked and everything. It's just it took a little bit more steps. So an easier way might be to go and use the self-extracting one that's right here. Download that. I've already downloaded it, and I put it into my folder, my downloads folder here. And once it's been downloaded, I just double-clicked on it. It's a self-extracting archive, and it will actually put it onto your C drive the way it should be. So if I double-click on it right now, double-click on it right now, it'll run the program, and it'll ask you where to put it. It wants to put it on the C drive. That is fine. And so we unzip it, and it'll go through and uncompress everything. And then if we look at our C drive, it'll see that we do have our merch kind of folder here with all the structure that it kind of looks like inside of the book. So an easier way might be to get started would be to use the actual self-extracting one. It seemed a lot easier to me the second time around that I started doing that. Again, the program that we're going to use here to demonstrate is the Aptana. Again, you could use Dreamweaver if you want, but the Aptana is a pretty simple program. I'm going to start the program. It's just asking you where you want to save. I'm going to put it into the same merch folder that is on the C drive, so I just hit browse here and go to the folder. It looks like by default it went there anyways. I'm going to hit OK. Next, it just has some warning messages about Git. I'm not sure. I'm going to not even worry about that right now. Oops, hold on. The page went full screen on me here for a moment. Okay, so I'm going to move my windows around a little bit here. Okay, so once I have this program open, it's a pretty, in chapter 2, I read some of the projects and things like that. On page 54, they want you to go into the file new, and we're going to use a new web project. It's going to look a little bit different here because this is a little bit newer version than the book's version here, but kind of looks the same as it does on page 55. We're going to use the default project right here. We're not going to use one of these, but they do talk about using a template in the book. But for this first section, I'm going to use the default project right there, and I'm going to hit next. It's asked you to give it a name. We're going to call it HTML5 book apps, just like it is on page 55. And then I know it has a default here, but I'm going to turn off the default location and go to my browse here. And I'm going to go to my folder on my C drive, just like it says in the book. Go to my merch folder, go to my CSS3, and then go to my book apps, and I'm going to hit OK. Again, just like it says in the book, you are going to get this error message. It's okay. It's just telling you that there's files already in the folder. That's really what it's saying. And then if you hit finish, it'll open it up. Now, in the book, they kind of talk about how to open up a file and look at it. In this case, I'm going to go over here to my chapter 2 folder here, and I'm going to open up my file here by double-clicking on it, and it opens up so we can look at it. Once I have it open, they talk a little bit about editing some of the code and things like that. But one of the things they talk about is how to make the file look. Right now, we're looking at a kind of almost a black background with white text, and it does color code the tags, as you can see here. But if you want, you can actually change the look, and they actually in the book they use what they call the Dreamweaver theme. And what the Dreamweaver theme is where it's actually a white background with black text instead of the black background with white text. That's why, and plus it looks more like Dreamweaver. So if you're going to jump into Dreamweaver, it'll look pretty much similar. To do that, you go underneath the preferences under Window Preferences. Again, I'm on Windows. I'm sure there's a preferences on the Mac version of this software. And underneath the preferences there, you can go to the Aptana Studio, and we're going to go to Themes. And in the Themes option, we're going to go to the pull-down menu here, and I'm going to choose the Dreamweaver option here. Again, it's going to have a background of white with the text being black and highlighted, so it looks more like it does in Dreamweaver. You can also change the font, I believe, on when you're working. If I hit OK, you'll notice now it's a white background, and it looks more like the way they do it in Dreamweaver. So then they go through and they talk about using the program and how to edit some of the files. They talk about opening a CSS file and editing that. Again, there is a CSS file in the chapter 2, and you can open that too, and it'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so again, you can have more than one file open at a time. Notice how I have the HTML open here as well as the CSS open here. Okay, so you can open up both files at the same time and edit those as you are working. They also talk about previewing and showing what it actually looks like. So if you click on the HTML file, there is a preview button kind of in the top corner up here, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. If I can just hit it properly here. No, it's actually next to that one. There it goes. So that's what it looks like, and we've already seen it okay already. Okay, it's just like an arrow up there. So it shows you what it looks like. Then they talk a lot about validating text and going through the validation. Look in there. I've included some links to the validator also, to the W3 validation, which basically talks about making sure that the code follows a certain structure. They also talk about editing some of the code, and then they go right into doing the exercises. All I want you to do is kind of follow the exercises that are on page 2.2, or I meant exercise 2.1, and then exercise 2.2 on page 79. Again, they talk about just opening files. This one specifically that I already have open, and kind of making edits to that, and then making your own file as a sample. And then they talk about using templates and using some of those templates. And when you're all done, you can just hit save and save all the files that you need. You can save them back into the same folder, and then we can talk about how to upload it to the server. Again, I want you to structure your server page so that it looks like a as you're working inside this program, you're going to be adding files and deleting files. You can actually make new folders as you're working along here. You'll notice that in the sample page on my website here. If we look at the class sample page here, under lessons here, actually lesson 2 here, the March 4th one here, you'll see how this student kind of organized each week into a folder with the so as she was working, the student was working on making folders for each exercise that is in the book. She made a new folder for each exercise and then placed all the information that was needed for that exercise within that folder. So that's kind of the best structure to go about. So as you're working along, again, you can look at what the students have done before, look at some of the structure and how they do it, and that's probably the easiest way to organize the server. And I will include a video on how to upload to the server also.